For months, she parked in his driveway like she owned it. Twice, he called a tow truck. What followed was a public unraveling, the kind the whole neighborhood couldn't look away from. Reggie Carter was a patient man. He had to be. As a middle school science teacher in Lakeland, Florida, Reggie spent his days trying to make the periodic table more exciting than TikTok. He lived by routine, a quiet, measured rhythm that brought him peace. His home, a modest single-story brick house with a neatly trimmed lawn and just enough driveway space for one car, was his sanctuary. It wasn't flashy, but it was his. A place to unwind, grade papers, and catch the game in peace. That peace ended the day Bali Vanderholt decided his driveway was hers. The first time Reggie spotted the sleek silver Lexus RX sitting where his own car should have been, he brushed it off. Mistakes happen, he told himself. Maybe she had guests. Maybe cars got shuffled around. No big deal. But then it happened again and again. Bully always had a reason. She was just dropping something off, just running inside for a second. She'd give him a tight-lipped smile, wave him off with a manicured hand, and carry on like nothing was wrong. Reggie wasn't a confrontational man, not over something small, so he let it slide, until the day he came home exhausted, hungry, and ready to collapse, only to find her Lexus parked dead center in his driveway again. And this time, she wasn't even around. He took a deep breath, knocked on her door. She answered, wearing an expression that said she knew exactly why he was there. "Reggie, what's wrong?" she asked, feigning surprise, voice soaked in condescension. "Your car's in my driveway again," he said, gesturing behind him. "Oh, well, I had a delivery and the truck needed space to back out," she said. Like that settled it. "You don't mind, do you?" "I do, actually," Reggie replied, his voice calm but firm. "I need you to stop parking in my driveway." She sighed dramatically. "I live right next door, Reggie. It's not like I'm parking on some stranger's property." "You're parking on mine," Belly scoffed. "Are you really that bothered by a car being there for a few minutes?" "It's not a few minutes. It keeps happening." She laughed sharply. "Fine. No need to get all worked up. I'll move it." She did, that time, but it didn't stop. Over the following weeks, the pattern continued. Sometimes she parked there. Sometimes her friends did. If Reggie left a note, it vanished. If he knocked, she was out. One evening, Reggie pulled up to see not one, but two cars in his driveway, her Lexus and a black BMW that definitely wasn't his. That was it. He parked on the street, snapped a photo, and marched up to her door. Belly answered with a sigh, wine glass in hand. "Reggie," she said, drawing out his name like he was the problem. "Whose car is that?" "Oh, my friend's. We're having a little get-together. You weren't home, so I figured it didn't matter." "It does matter," he said, jaw tightening. "This isn't a parking lot. This is my home." She folded her arms. "Well, if you had said something earlier. I'm saying something now. Move the car." Another eye roll. Another slow shuffle to call her friend. Reggie waited. 10 minutes. 15. 20. Enough was enough. That night he started looking up local towing services. Still, he gave her one last chance. One final note written in bold black marker. "Do not park here again." The next day, her Lexus was there again. This time parked at an angle, like she was daring him to react. Reggie didn't knock. He didn't argue. He made the call. When the tow truck arrived, the driver took one look at the scene and said, "She parked in your driveway?" "Yep," Reggie said, holding up his property deed. "Say no more." In minutes, her luxury SUV was lifted off the pavement and hauled away. Reggie stood with arms crossed, watching as the car vanished down the street. He didn't know what kind of storm he'd just unleashed. An hour later, right as he was settling in for the night, came a furious pounding at the door. Bam! 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 Bally stood there in silk pajama pants, flip-flops, and fury. "Where's my car?" she barked, clutching her phone. Reggie tilted his head. "You mean the one that was illegally parked in my driveway?" "Don't play games, Reggie." "Towed." Her mouth fell open. "You did what?" "You heard me. You wouldn't stop parking in my driveway, so I had it removed. Simple as that." Blee let out a wild, bitter laugh. "You are going to pay for this. Do you have any idea who I am? I'm on the HOA board." Reggie didn't flinch. And that, was only the beginning. I have connections, Reggie. He gave her a slow blink. Good for you. Your car's at Sunshine Towing, off Orange Blossom Trail. Have a good night. And just like that, he closed the door. But Bali Vanderholt wasn't finished. She stood outside his house for a full 10 minutes, yelling, ranting, switching between outrage and veiled threats. At one point, she even pulled out her phone and called the police. When the officers arrived, Reggie calmly met them at the door. One of them, a tired-looking man in his 40s, raised a brow. You had her car towed? From your own property? Yep, Reggie said, handing him a copy of his deed. The officer scanned it briefly and turned to Belly. Ma'am, he's within his rights. If you want your car back, you'll need to pay the impound fee. Bali's face turned the color of a ripe tomato. Reggie almost wished he had a camera to capture the moment. Still, he knew this wasn't over. And he was right. He had thought, perhaps foolishly, that getting her car towed would send a clear message. But Bali wasn't one to admit defeat. If anything, it fueled her. It started small, petty, passive-aggressive nonsense. First, a note on his door in bright red marker. This is a community. We should all be more considerate of our neighbors. Reggie tossed it in the trash without reading it twice. Then came the HOA complaints. A letter appeared in his mailbox accusing him of violating community aesthetics with the potted ferns on his porch. The same ones that had been there for 2 years. He laughed out loud. Another letter claimed he left his garbage bins out too long. Then one about his mailbox paint fading. By the 4th letter, Reggie wasn't even mad. He was impressed. She was putting in work. But it was the next escalation that crossed a line. Security. One evening, Reggie was watering his lawn when a white security SUV pulled up. Lights flashing like this was a crime scene. A tall, stocky officer stepped out, adjusting his belt with a sense of purpose. You live here, sir? He asked. Reggie frowned. Yeah. Why? The officer cleared his throat. We received a call about some suspicious activity. Reggie blinked slowly. Suspicious? He turned his head. Sure enough, there she was. Bali Vanderholt, arms crossed, standing on her porch and pretending to be oblivious. He gave the officer a long, unimpressed look. Watering my lawn is suspicious now? The officer had the decency to look sheepish. Look, sir. Save it, Reggie cut him off. I already know who called. Tell her to find a new hobby. The officer sighed, nodded, and walked back to his vehicle. Across the street, Bali smiled like she'd just won a prize. Reggie wasn't about to let it slide. He walked right up to her porch. Bali, he said. She blinked at him, playing dumb. Oh, everything okay, Reggie? I saw security over here. Hope nothing serious happened. He folded his arms. You know damn well why they were here, Bali gasped. Reggie, no need to be rude. I was just concerned. We have a duty to watch out for the neighborhood, don't we? He stared at her for a moment. She wanted a reaction. She wanted him to snap, to lose his temper so she could twist the story. But Reggie didn't give her the satisfaction. Instead, he smirked, calm, controlled, amused. I'm done playing games, Bali, he said, voice low and even. I gave you more chances than you deserved. But you keep pushing, so let's see what happens when I push back. For the first time, she looked unsure. And she should have been, because the next time she parked in his driveway, Reggie wasn't just going to tow her car. He was going to make sure it hurt. Part 3, the line gets crossed. It didn't take long. Just 1 week later, on a sunny Saturday afternoon, Reggie returned from the gym, sweat-soaked, in a great mood, only to find her Lexus dead center in his driveway again. Bold, disrespectful, and worse, it was blocking his garage. His entire family was on the way over for a cookout. Reggie sat in his car for a moment, just staring. Then he calmly stepped out, grabbed a pair of folding chairs from the trunk, and made one phone call. Hey, this is Reggie Carter. Need a car towed. Same place as last time. The dispatcher chuckled. Let me guess. Same car too? You got it. We'll be there in 15. Reggie smiled, set the chairs on the porch, and waited. Minutes later, the tow truck rolled up. Fast, efficient. The driver stepped out, gloves on, ready for battle. Doing this again? He asked. Reggie nodded, gesturing to the Lexus. She's a slow learner. The guy shook his head and got to work. Halfway through hooking up the vehicle, Bully came storming out of her house like a tornado in sandals. "Stop! What are you doing?" Reggie leaned back in his chair, sipping cold water. "Afternoon, Belly." She turned to the tow truck driver, shouting, "That's my car. You can't take it." He didn't even blink, just kept strapping down the wheels. She whirled back to Reggie. "You called the tow truck again?" He raised an eyebrow. "You parked in my driveway. Again. I have guests. There was no street parking." Reggie tilted his head. "Not my problem." Her fists clenched. "You're being petty. I would have moved it." He shrugged. "You've said that before. And yet, here we are." Her face turned crimson. "You don't understand what you're doing. I have connections. I can make this very difficult for you." Reggie laughed. Not a chuckle. A real, full-bodied laugh. "Oh, Bully," he said, shaking his head. "I don't think you understand what's happening here." He pointed down the street. Her Lexus was already halfway gone. She screamed, "You're going to regret this." Reggie stood up, calmly dusting off his jeans. "No, Belly, you are." She stood frozen as he turned and walked back inside, just in time to greet his family, who were arriving with hugs and laughter. Behind him, Bully stood alone on her porch. But she wasn't done yet, and Reggie knew it. "I'll split the tow fee with you." That was the message Reggie got from a neighbor the next morning, and it made him laugh. Not because of the offer, but because of what it meant. He didn't have to defend himself anymore. Bly had finally exposed herself for who she really was. Years of petty complaints, fines, and power plays were catching up to her, and now the neighborhood had seen enough. Then came the HOA meeting. Normally, Reggie wouldn't waste his time on those. But this time, he sat in the front row, arms folded, expression cool, and directly across from Bly. She didn't even look at him. The meeting started like always. Budget updates, landscaping contracts, a reminder about trash bins. Then one of the board members cleared his throat. "We need to address a complaint regarding misuse of private property." Bly sat up straighter, ready to play the victim. But then the board member continued. "The complaint is against Ms. Bly Vanderholt." Reggie didn't bother hiding his grin. Bly's head snapped toward the board. "Excuse me?" One of the members, a woman in her 60s, sighed. "We've had multiple reports, Bly. Harassment of residents, misuse of HOA communications, personal grievances disguised as official complaints." "That's ridiculous," Bly protested. "I'm the one being harassed." But they kept going. Security calls without reason, retaliation against neighbors, threats, flyers, emails. It was all on the record. "You're taking his side?" she asked, wide-eyed. "No," the woman said flatly. "We're taking the side of the community." Bly looked around for support, found none. She wasn't in control anymore, and for the first time she knew it. But Reggie knew she wouldn't let go quietly. 2 days after the meeting, Reggie pulled into his driveway and immediately noticed something odd. His trash cans were gone. Not tipped over, not moved. Just missing. Then he spotted them, stacked neatly behind Bly's house like they were her property. He actually laughed. This woman had gone from false complaints and power plays to stealing trash cans. He grabbed his phone, took a few clear photos, and walked straight to her door. Knock, knock. No answer. Knock, knock. Louder this time. Finally, the door creaked open. There she was. No smug smile, no fake concern. Just tired, like she already knew. Reggie held up his phone. "You want to explain why my trash cans are in your backyard?" "I don't know what you're talking about," she said flatly. He chuckled. "Bly, I have pictures. Let's not pretend." She didn't respond. "You've lost," Reggie said. "You can't find me. You can't call security. The HOA isn't backing you. And now, you're out here stealing trash cans like a lunatic." Her eyes flashed with something, rage maybe, but she didn't say a word. He stepped closer, calm and steady. "You've spent months trying to make my life miserable, and now," he nodded toward her dark, quiet house, "looks like you're the one who's miserable." She shut the door. Smartest thing she'd done all year. But Reggie wasn't done. The next morning he filed an official complaint. His turn now. Harassment, unauthorized communications, false security calls, and now, theft. By the end of the week, the board had no choice. Bly Vanderholt was removed from the HOA board. Her reign was over. And the best part? She never parked in Reggie's driveway again. Because some people only learn when everything they've clung to is taken away. From that day forward, she never spoke to him. No more glares, no passive-aggressive notes, no complaints about his plants or garbage bins, just silence. And honestly, that was the best ending Reggie could have hoped for. For the first time in months, he could pull into his driveway without tension. No unexpected cars, no letters, just peace. But the neighborhood wasn't done talking. Bly's downfall became legend. The woman who once ruled the community like a self-appointed queen had been stripped of her crown, and suddenly people were ready to speak up. She fined me $75 for leaving a bike on the porch. She called security on my teenage nephew because he wore a hoodie. I've lived here 10 years. She never helped anyone. Reggie realized something. She had been a problem long before she came after him. He had just been the first one to push back. And when he did, the entire neighborhood followed. But karma wasn't finished yet. A few months later, a for sale sign popped up in her yard. Some said it was embarrassment. Others whispered she had too many enemies now to stay. Reggie didn't care. He didn't need to know why. When the moving trucks finally pulled away, he stepped onto his porch, took a deep breath, and smiled. The battle was over, and he had won. The lesson? Some people think they can push others around forever, that they can get away with being selfish, manipulative, and cruel because no one ever stands up to them. But eventually they pick the wrong person. And when that person fights back, the whole world watches them fall.